It's time to cook a conspiracy theory for Lord of the Mysteries. Basically, in this theory, I will use logical deduction to figure out what the name of the seer pathway 1 or maybe 0, because again, I don't believe that sequence 9 to 1 is the definitive thing. I think there is a 0 or something beyond that that's supposed to be like godhood. Anyways, I have some rough bullet points written down here so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. And I just want to let you guys know, as a Donghua only that is lacking so much details, this theory is going to be garbage, okay? This is going to be a retarded theory. I have 4 hamsters running in my brain trying to get all the circuits going, okay? So you need to be very easy with me, but basically let's build up the case. First things first. So these are the main talking points I want to talk about. The Antigonus family diary, or the Antigonus family, very important. Hornassus mountain range, the Fool / the palace above the gray fog. So first things first, let's compare the thrones, right? Throne comparisons versus the gray fog versus the Hornassus, because we've seen multiple times, right? Klein's throne in the gray palace. Look at the designs, right? Look at the left here, look at the right here, look at these encrusted jewels. Maybe the symbol in the middle matters as well, but just kind of look at the left and right first of all. And I want you to look at this. This is the imagery that we see all the time whenever we see Klein sees some crazy stuff, you know, regarding the Hornassus. And if you look at this pattern with this jewel embedded, don't you think that it kind of looks like this? So what does that mean? The gray fog and the Hornassus range are clearly related. They have to be related, right? There's some association here. There's another thing that goes on to kind of connect this and this. So basically, this is a scene in episode 4, Lord of the Mysteries, where we see like different symbols pop up. I think it's supposed to represent people's like tarot cards as well as maybe the pathways they have. This is for Klein. For Audrey, we saw the dragon, and I think we made a comment about how, you know, the creator's brain, I think, was supposed to be like intelligence or something, was supposed to be making the dragon or whatever. That's the kind of the lore. But I want you to look at this design, which again kind of looks like vertical eyes, right? Like this kind of looks like an eye shape, or this kind of looks like an eye shape. Over here, you see, this is the episode 2 or 2, I think, where the tarot card, the seer pathway. This is another symbol that's supposed to be that. Now we have to do a little bit of mental gymnastics to see how it kind of fits to this design. But if you look really close enough, maybe this, right? Like look at this thing. Look at this thing. Squint hard enough, guys. Maybe these things all matches the throne. I know that this is weak right now. I think that this and this, right, kind of makes more sense, because if you look at the left side. But all of this, I'm trying to basically say the seer pathway, right? The seer pathway, Antigonus family, as well as the gray fog, you know, the palace above the gray fog, right, are all related. They're connected, right? They are somehow all connected right now. Now, what do we know about the Antigonus family? We don't know anything, right? Did they mention that the Antigonus family was basically like in the 4th epic? I think that couple episodes ago, a while ago, during like Ray Bieber incidents, right? No, I'm not talking about the diary. The diary is very important, but I'm just talking about the overall family, right? I'm talking about the overall family, right? They're ancient. They're ancient from the previous epic, right? And other than Ray Bieber, you know, Ray Bieber, we don't know anyone from that descendant, right? So it's kind of interesting. Isn't it interesting how we only have seer pathway sequence 1 and others are missing? The clown fight in Ep 3, he clearly was, you know, of seer pathway, and he was sequence 7, I think, right? I think he was sequence 7, right? Right? Sorry, not sequence 9. Sorry. 9. My bad. The clown fight, right? He told us what the clown was. He was also, right? also associated with the secret order, right? So there's something very interesting if you think about how all of these things are related. The Antigonus family, the Palace Above the Great Fog, the Seer Pathway, they're all related. Antigonus family is just, I guess, like an old family that might have been destroyed. Who knows how influential and powerful they were in the past? But clearly they are not prominent anymore. And if we assume that the Seer Pathway is associated with the Antigonus family, then there's something interesting to be said about how things are being hidden right now. We only have sequence 9 of Seer Pathway in the Evernight Goddess. Maybe the church is doing something with it. Who knows, right? But the kind of the idea I'm trying to build up right now is how the Seer Pathway is associated with the Antigonus family, and it's very like dangerous. And I think there is some rewriting of history happening, and there's a lot of details that is being omitted, and the church is probably hiding some shit. I'll build more cases up to it, but that's kind of the idea I want you to have right now to work off of. There's also another evidence could be how the Antigonus diary plus Seer Pathway equals Hornassus Phlegrea noises? So maybe I'm going nowhere with this, but isn't there an association with when Klein dealt with the Antigonus family and how also became a seer, but then he started to hear noises? He's constantly hearing noises, Hornassus, Phlegrea, Hornassus, Phlegrea. We don't know what Phlegrea is just yet. Hornassus clearly leads to the mountain range, right? This shit. The ancient Evernight nation. Where is it? This stuff, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is, with this association, did the Antigonus family live in Hornassus? I don't know. Or are they the people that existed in the Evernight nation of the past? I don't know. These are just things that, again, I just want to bring up to kind of make us think. Okay, so first, we've laid some facts down and some assumptions and some logical deduction to connect all these different things. Next up, let's compare the Grey Fog Palace and the Eternal Blazing Sun. So when we divined the mutated sun relic thing, right? Klein basically saw God, right? I don't know. Okay, this doesn't really make sense to me, because how the fuck does such a low security clearance relic lead you to the fucking blazing sun god? How does that make sense? Just think about that for a second. Klein, like that charm, that relic was basically in order to help us ward against evil spirits, wraith and shit. It's supposed to like purify it. It's a low clearance, relic. But you're telling me somehow, right? How the fuck did a low security clearance, relic lead to blazing sun god? I don't know, but that still happened. And when we looked at it, what happened? Klein basically courted death, right? Klein basically interacted, right? Klein interacted with the blazing sun god's semen and then courted death, right? He saw the drip of that shit, he touched it, then right? That's what happened. But here's what gets really interesting. However, because it was done with the divination, right? The divination was done within the palace above the Grey Fog. We were able to survive. Right? So if you look at it, the palace got fucked up. The palace got messed up because clearly, the palace is clearly like maybe. So does this mean the palace, right, is on the level of an Orthodox 7 god, right? Because like, again, we got fucked up. The palace was destroyed. However, the fog was able to basically put Klein out of the fire, and we survived and we rebuilt. What does this mean? That means that the palace, the mysterious gray fog, it's all like on that Orthodox 7 God level. Okay? It maybe not the same. Maybe it's lesser. But like what I'm trying to say is, it's kind of like on that level. So, now that we've built these cases up, this is where it gets really interesting. The main takeaway right now I'm trying to connect is how the Gray Fog, Antigonus family, Seer pathway, all related. And we know that the palace is now maybe on the level of an Orthodox 7 God. Therefore, again, if we assume that a sequence leads to godhood, and that the gray, right? Gray palace is associated, right, with the Seer pathway and Antigonus family, right? Or more rather, it's more like, I guess, Antigonus family, the Seer pathway. What I'm trying to tell you right now is, I believe, right? Okay, hold on. I need to go, hold on. What I'm trying to say, okay, sequence leads to godhood. Gray palace is associated with Antigonus family's the Seer pathway. Sequence 1 or maybe 0 if it exists is on the level of blazing, eternal blazing sun, right? Okay, right? We're of Seer pathway. You see this? Okay, hold on. Sequence 1 or 0, Seer pathway is on the level of eternal. Why? Because we were able to fight off against the god, right? This shit that happened. Therefore, Antigonus family in the past was basically getting on that godhood level. And fuck. My train of thought, hold on. Wait. Let me cook. So basically, where am I going? The Antigonus family in the past was getting on that godhood level. Thus, the church destroyed them. How about that? Not the church. Or other strong families destroyed them. How about that? And hold up. So basically what I'm trying to say is, back in the day, right? These epics are very not detailed. And the church, I'm pretty sure, is hiding shit. I think that the Antigonus family that had the Seer pathway that may have lived in the Hornacis range was getting so fucking strong, and they were scared. People were scared of them. Therefore, they put them down. And then, wait. What is the name of? Are you ready for this? Now, we built up all these different cases of how Antigonus, Gray Fog, Hornacis, Seer pathway all connects. We've then talked about how the palace, the Gray Fog shit, on the level of Orthodox 7 God. If we all connect this together, then we know that sequence 1 or maybe 0 that's reaching godhood of this pathway name is... Where is it? Let's talk about the chant. The fool that doesn't belong to this era. The mysterious ruler above the great palace. The king of black and yellow who has good luck. The name? I don't know. This is where it's like, is it the Fool? Is it the Mysterious Ruler? Is it the Great Palace? Is it the King of Black and Yellow? I don't know. However, wait. However, it could be any of the three. However, the term, the phrase, wait for it, the phrase, praise the fool. This is important. Because when do we say praise the... Well, praise the lady is for Evernight Goddess, right? And as Evernight Goddess is on that god tier, she is... The fool is... How about that? How about that? Huh? You see the logic build up? Because like, I think that it could be any of the three here, but the fact that there's a term, praise the fool, praise the lady, praise the sun. These are godhood entities that you are praising. Therefore, the fool. And this is the threat that other families or churches were scared of. And that's why Antigona's family is gone. There's a conspiracy. There's a fucking conspiracy with what happened to the Antigona's family. And now let's talk about that, okay? No. Let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about this. The Hornacis Range, aka the Ancient Evernight Nation. Now, basically, this is the main theory that I wanted to solve first by giving you logical deductions. However, we have some bonus content now. Bonus content. So, maybe Antigona's family lived in Hornacis Range. Why? I don't know. It's because they're all related. If we again relate the Hornacis to Antigonas to Seer pathway, maybe they lived back in the day. We know they kept bodies for like 3 days after dead in bed, but no corpse, right? No remains, bones. Where'd they go? I don't know. It's gone. Maybe Tooth Fairy. So like, basically there's a lore in like North America and other places that like, if you hide tooth under pillow, the Tooth Fairy comes and collects it and gives you money. Basically that's your parents, right? Your Maybe Evernight Goddess is the corpse fairy. and took the bodies. That's why they're in the gargoyle. This is stupid. This is stupid. This is stupid as fuck. Maybe they ate the bodies. Maybe, but like 3 days after. But 3-day rotting body? Ew. Here's another one. Maybe they, okay? Maybe they burned the bodies? I don't know. Then at least this way, no remains are left, right? All right, here we go. This is gonna get so fucking stupid, okay? I'm telling you. Get ready, okay? Get ready. This is about to go beyond retarded, okay? So I want you to look at the throne. I want you to look at the palace. It's pretty big, right? The palace is pretty big, right? The chairs are pretty big, right? The table's pretty big, right? Because palace is big. Maybe the grave. Okay, remember. Okay, remember how again we're tying the gray fog is associated with the seer pathway and Antigonus. Everything is tied together. Maybe this was a civilization of giants. Oh wait. And because everyone is looking for normal sized remains, they don't realize that big bones are there. And then what if big bones were used to build architecture in Hornassus range, or even the Great Palace itself? Okay, this is fucking stupid, okay? Again, this is fucking stupid. I don't believe this. We are doing schizo theories. What I'm trying to tell you is think outside the box. The reason why they can't find the remains is because they were giant beings and the bones and shit were used somewhere else. Okay, that was stupid. Let's not think they're giants. They're regular human sizes. Maybe the remains were basically... Okay. Notice the theme of constellations, stars, space, right? If you look at the gray fog, it's like stars, right? Fucking like constellations, space, right? So like what I'm trying to get at here is even when Klein was bringing in Audrey and Alger, right? He bumped into a red constellation. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the remains maybe turned into, you know, basically, maybe they, again, burned the bodies and ashes basically formed, you know, returned to the universe as atoms and built up what is the Great Palace. You know what I'm trying to... Okay, this is okay. This is less stupid than the giant theory, right? Because like what I'm trying to say is, if the remains were gone, and then somehow magically these remains were like, you know, returned to ash, returned to like the nature, right? When you die, you scatter your remains, basically you return to nature, and everything, you know, comes together, and planets and stars all fucking become, you know, be made of the remains. We become part of the cosmos itself. I don't fucking know. This is stupid, all right? But basically, there's some stupid ideas, all right? We're just having fun right now, okay? We're just having some fun right now. Maybe after Antigonus' family, you know, got destroyed. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the church or other great families basically destroyed all evidence in order to not have any leads to Seer Path, like Seer Path, the Fool. Because like ritualistic magic, right? Ritualistic magic and shit requires, you know, materials, maybe like old Hornassus, you know, people's like bodies could be used in this kind of stuff. Therefore, they wanted to get rid of it all. They're just hiding evidence. I don't fucking know. I don't know. We're just thinking. We're just thinking, okay? Now, let's talk about this. Church's involvement and rewriting history. In most shows, churches are evil, right? History is written by the victors. It's so sus that, you know, details of previous epics are vague. It's also sus that back in the day, right? In the past, high-level Beyonders were common, but in this era, Beyonders are all mid. Trash, right? The acting principle is also not a common knowledge. Did the church hide it? Hide this? Church is scared of people achieving godhood, thus they nerfed beyond their knowledge. I think this is pretty obvious, right? Like this is schizo conspiracy shit with the Hornassus stuff, but the churches, I think this is very reasonable, right? Because like, again, I don't believe the history as given. I think it's bullshit and they're making shit up. I think that these like, the churches are scared of more gods and other beings because they're power hungry. They want to be in control. They're hiding everything. They also probably are like trying to like obfuscate, you know, what the seer pathway is. Because again, if you go back to the earlier logic, I've built a case here. So what I'm trying to say is church is evil. They're hiding shit and they're intentionally not trying to make strong beyonders because it's not in their best interest to do that. Okay. So like, also when church right now is Central Cathedral? I don't know. I know that there's like the Evernight Goddess Church, but like there is like Central Cathedral Church, right? I think that is Evernight Goddess. I don't know, but I'm trying to say just in a abstract way, in a vague way, in a general way, that like there is a group of people that is hiding shit. They're maybe colluding together and they don't want strong beyonders to exist because it's not in their best interest for powerful peoples to come to rise and threaten their power. Like, I think that's very obvious, right? We already talked about this. Okay, this is where it gets kind of funny. Okay. If you've noticed, right? The feather, invisible, translucent feather shows up sometimes. Sometimes there is writing noise. Sometimes there isn't. Feather quill writing equals, you know, basically an author, right? Someone writing stories. If you look at the scenes where Feather shows up, usually something happens, right? Like people turned into crazed monsters, or even like Azek's episode recently, right? He talked about destiny or something during the Feather showing up. Basically, I think there is someone looking at this current story and changing the course of the story with their powers. Strong Beyonder? That's capable of just like, you know, manipulating the story as we see it? I don't know, but like this is a pretty... Is it cuttlefish? Is it cuttlefish? I don't know. That'd be so funny though. Like he wanted to self-insert himself into the story, and therefore, like, yes, it was me this entire time. I wrote the story. What do you fucking think, dumbasses? But like, I think that's like a very basic general idea of like how this makes sense. Missing some other stuff is Klein, transmigration, you know, Antigonus diary, and the powers he has, right? Has for the Grey Palace, right? For the Grey Palace. I don't know. I haven't really think about this enough. This is the biggest question of it all, right? I think that there is... The biggest question right now is, how does this all make sense? The previous Klein that had the Antigonus diary, right? Previous Klein plus Welch plus Naya, you know, using the Antigonus diary to do some sort of ritual? I don't know. And the ritual required sacrifices, thus they all died. But Klein got transmigrated. Was this on purpose? Because if you again look at this, where is this? All right. Look at this, right? if you, again, let's think about it like this. Let's think about it of Klein. It's some sort of ritual. They all died. It's a sacrifice. But look at this part. That doesn't belong to this era. If we assume that the Fool is the godhood of Seer pathway, and if the statement, the Fool, that doesn't belong to this era, doesn't that mean transmigration was literally the point of, you know, the, basically the transmigration was literally the requirement to achieve the ultimate Seer sequence. How about that? It's not very fleshed out, but what I really want to focus on is if, again, right, Antigone's family, Seer pathway, they had all that shit. And if it required, if you had to, even if we made it up, right? Even if we made up the chant of, you know, like, doesn't belong to this era. What if, I don't know, this is a requirement, again, to achieve godhood? I don't know. I don't know. My brain hurts. I'm done. That's it. Okay? I'm at this point, I've given you all the different thoughts that have been manifesting as I've been watching the Donghua for 6 episodes. I understand that, okay, this is probably the stupidest one of all. I think the giant stuff, right? I think this is the dumbest fucking theory here. The giant stuff. I don't know. I think that I might be cooking with this though, right? Okay, as the video went by, it became worse and worse. But I think that this, I think I cooked. I think that logical deduction, using the common phrase of praise the whatever, connecting every single bit of Antigone's Great Fuck Hornassus, using all these different knowledge and comparing it to the Blazing Sun God godhood, I think that I've been cooking there. I'm sure the framework of the theory will change as we watch more episodes, but I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts I had. That's it from me. Bye-bye.